Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. Who or what are you celebrating today? I have four, hopefully five people. One of them has disappeared from the wings. Five great artists who are coming on to talk about today. Our topic is success. What does success mean to you? Do you feel that you are successful? Do you feel that you are grasping for success? Do you feel that success eludes you? Do you think you had success and it's no longer there? What does it all mean? Well, today we're going to hopefully open that all up. I read a great definition of success, and it said success is being able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, without asking for anyone else's permission. And I am going to randomly pick someone right now, and I'm going to ask if
Oh,
he agrees with me. There you are, Lenny. How are you?
random. I was random.
So, what does success mean to you, first of all?
It. I grapple with that a lot actually because to many people I would be successful. I've run a nonprofit. But I'm always thinking about what could be better. I used to base success for me purely on financial. If I have enough money, am I able to do things financially that I want to do? I've kind of gotten over that a little bit, because I'm lucky and I'm able to live in New York City and I'm able to make a living. So I feel successful in that way. These days, I feel like if I wake up in the morning and make it through the day without killing anybody
Or
or
getting killed yourself?
getting killed, I feel like that is a fairly successful day.
How long have you lived in New York, Lenny? What year did
40,
you come to New York?
40 years.
Okay. For
Yeah.
me, I'm celebrating my 46th year this year. I
Wow.
came to New York in August of 79, and it was a very different New York from what it
Mm-hmm.
is now, and you know that.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember at that time, I call them the Hunger Years, where by most people's standards, I didn't have a lot of money, and yet I was able to do whatever I wanted to do. It was easier to go to the theater. I would go to restaurants. I would go to cabaret shows. I would do all these things, and I still had money left over to pay my bills. Do you feel that it is tougher for kids coming to New York now than it was when you and I came to New York?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, unless you come from, extreme wealth and are able to, just come in. And when I moved to New York 40 years ago, I came here with $1,000 bank check
Mhm.
and thought that was like, all right, and now I think about, that doesn't even, that covers like nothing.
I know.
Nothing. And I moved here. I moved in with a friend, uh, and then we ended up moving together to another apartment. And then another roommate came in, and he's still in that apartment in Washington Heights. He's been there for 40 years. I
Wow.
just moved out of my old apartment that I was in for 32 years, and I'm in this new apartment now for a little over a year. But yeah, I think I can't imagine somebody moving to New York right now unless you know people, unless you can get some kind of a deal. The deals are out. I mean, they are there, but I would imagine that somebody that's just moving into town wouldn't have any idea. But, it's funny. I was the same way when I first got here. I didn't feel like I like the money was weird. Like I said, I had $1,000 and I felt like I got a job. I made money. I was able to go out. We went out to the piano bars at night. We were, able to live. And now the second I walk out my door, I feel like I should just take $50 and drop it in the trash can.
Exactly. Well, I remember I came to New York with $500 in my pocket. I got my first job. I got my first full day in New York, and it was as a messenger down at 55 Water Street for $6 an hour. I
Wow.
mean, that was it. I mean, which went a lot further than $6 an hour would go right now. In a moment, we're going to bring our next guest. But before we do, on the bottom of the screen here, your Signasium, which talk about success, is very successful. Everyone I know who has taken a part of it just absolutely loves doing it, and they get so much out of it. For those who don't know what Signasium is, tell us what it is.
Sure. Signasium is a nonprofit singing school, basically. I've been teaching for probably 35 years, and about 10 years ago, a couple people came to me and said, "Hey, we'd like to help you get started and take your classes, to another level." And so we formed Signasium, and I teach. We have other teachers. We do workshops. We do weekend things. We just started doing theater. We're waiting. We just did a production of Jesus Christ Superstar in the fall with a cast of 20 over 20 people. We at the 14th Street Y. We're waiting on the rights. I guess I can say we're waiting on the rights to do Closer Than Ever in the fall, and then possibly Seussical in the spring. So we're growing in that way. We have a great board of directors. You can find out about our classes at signasium.org. We also just started doing through a company called Il Chiostro. I'm going to teach a cabaret workshop in Tuscany in June, and then Venice in October. And then I just found out that in fall of 26, we're going to New Zealand.
Wow. Now that's success.
I feel, yeah. I mean, I'm like grateful and thankful for, but you got to just pick up the phone and say yes to this stuff. I think that's another definition of success, is saying yes.
Well, it's funny that you say that, and we're going to bring on the next person. But I always say that all of life hinges on one or two words: yes or no. Yes, I will book you. Yes, I will buy tickets to your show. Yes, I will be there. Yes, yes, yes. And I try to say yes more often than no. So you're going to say yes to our next guest, aren't you?
Yeah, of course.
So pick a number 1 through 4, and we'll bring on the next person.
Oh, let's go with 3.
That's a perfect segue, because Carolyn Marcel Elmore, speaking of voice teachers, vocal coaches, I mean, she has an incredible book celebrating the art form of creating music. Is that apt, Carolyn?
I beg your pardon? I'm sorry.
Is that apt to say that your book is about creating music?
Oh, 100%, yes. And it's, I have students that were asking me for many years to write a book so they had something to refer to when they weren't taking lessons. And I thought, who am I to write a book about singing? But I eventually realized that I did have something to offer. And what I had to offer was about 50 plus years of being in a studio one-on-one with students in colleges and privately in New York and Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Teaneck, New Jersey, all the various places I lived. So I created this book that I call a practical guide for singers and teachers, because it's not about pedagogy. It's not a science book. It's really just a step-by-step book on how to. It's a how-to manual, how to start to learn how to sing, how to start to teach someone to sing. What is the process? And I've been doing it for so long, and I've mastered it, right? I mean, I've honed it down to a certain process that goes in its line, and I've been very successful with students improving their singing. So yeah, that's my book, and I'm very proud of it.
Do you think that
it's
everybody
available at a drama bookshop as of this week? So.
Oh, that's great. Do you think that anyone can be taught to sing?
Oh no, I don't think that. I get asked that if I don't have a voice, or if I'm tone deaf, can you teach me how to sing? No, that would take somebody who can do a little hocus pocus on you. You'd have to be born differently, But no, not everybody can learn how to sing. But if you have an ear and if you have a voice, you can learn to sing better. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've had people come in that didn't sound very good at all, and they got much better because it mattered to them. They were so committed because they was really serious about it, and they wanted to sing so badly that even they got to sing well enough that people didn't know that they ever sounded bad.
I was reading an article yesterday about Napster. Do you remember Napster? And the fact that, there was a time where there were almost like stepping stones that people could have to creating a career. And it seems today, because of streaming and everything, and trying to find an audience and everything, that it's gotten harder. What do you think is the biggest change that you have experienced since you first got into this business in terms of the work that you do and how people pursue singing jobs in this business?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. The process is very, if you want to really do it, it's very methodical and it takes great discipline and consistency. What you can't do is you can't just come for a lesson and then not come again for 6 weeks and then come again because you have an audition and you think one lesson is suddenly going to get you competitive. It kind of doesn't work that way. You have to decide, this is what I want to do, make the commitment to come and take lessons as often as you possibly. I mean, I prefer nothing less than every 2 weeks. Otherwise, you don't really change. You don't move enough. You don't build in the muscle memory that singers have to rely on. Because when you're in front of an audience, you can't be thinking about, now, how do I breathe? Now, where do I place that note? It kind of has to be already there. So I think it's very different in that back in the day when I first, and I've been here longer than either of you. So, and I agree with you that New York was very, very different back then. And I came right after college because my college actually hired me to come back and start teaching in the music department in my college right after graduation. In fact, I signed the contract 2 weeks before I took my final exams. I thought they're certainly counting on the fact that I'm going to pass. But anyhow, so I've been here that long, and in the process, have seen so many changes in what it takes to actually be able to get jobs in show business. Back in the day, there were always auditions. You went, you waited in line, you got a call back, you didn't get a call back. But today, what these kids have to go through, and they have to send in these tapes, and then they have to send in another, and then if they're lucky, they get to audition in person. They need agents. We didn't get agents until we were already getting jobs.
Right.
Now
Absolutely.
they think they need, and maybe it's true, they need agents in order to start getting jobs. So it's a very different world. And since COVID, terrible, really so difficult because everything kind of stopped for 3 years. But these are young kids. These are teenagers. 3 years.
I loved when Demi Moore won the Golden Globe Award, and she talked about what happens in the room when you walk into a room to audition. And I thought her speech was so incredible because I just feel for these kids now who don't have that. I mean, when I came to New York, you know, many of the movers and shakers of the business, I mean, I auditioned for George Abbott at one time. So, I mean, those people don't exist anymore. And you walked into, sometimes when I first came to New York in 79, you actually auditioned on the stage in a Broadway theater. And I had the great chance to do that a couple of times. I want you to stick around for a few minutes. We're going to bring on our next guest. So pull a number 1 through 3.
Who, me?
Yes.
1.
And that's our friend Judy Mark. And Judy happens to be one of the hardest working people that I know. And she's constantly reinventing herself. She's constantly putting it out there. She's constantly learning what she needs to do. Judy, what does success mean to you? And you can build upon anything that we've talked about, or you can take us in a completely different direction.
Success is inner peace. It is finding happiness, doing what you love in life, and being kind to others and feeling kindness come back to you. Also, it's having a nice place to live, which could be any place that you imagine as nice. But for me, I had to have a place with a view so that I could dream.
And I mean, what do you think? I mean, you started out, did you start out as a dancer or did you start out as a teacher? Because you teach as well.
I've been dancing and singing and acting since I've been a kid with lessons and all that business. But I got married very early. I got talked into getting married. And I always knew in my heart that I had to come to New York and get away from all that being married to a doctor business to find myself. And that's what I did. I eventually, to cut to the chase, I got a scholarship to dance at Martha Graham, and I pursued my drama through Martha Graham. And then I transferred that feeling, that internal struggle and yin and yang, into my world of performance. I struggled for many years trying to get a job on Broadway, which was not going to happen for somebody who's 5'2", and it just wasn't going to happen. But I was out there, I tried, and eventually I made a decision that I was going to teach dance in the New York City high schools because I had professional experience and a college degree at that time. And I marched down to the Department of Ed and I applied, and there were only 10 of us that actually got selected to have that license. There were tests and all this business. But eventually I got that, and then I searched for a job in a high school, and I found one. And once I was set up with my job teaching dance and building a curriculum, 4-year sequential curriculum, I was free to pursue my dreams. And that was just about everything: film, TV, off Broadway. I did a little of this and a little of that. And then I did it, but I helped a lot of people. I helped a lot of students. Oh my God, I got them scholarships and colleges. They learned ballet, modern dance, jazz, choreography. They created their own masterpieces. And it was very exciting because I never had children. To be able to share that with kids, high school kids. And then I started working at Marymount College as an adjunct. And then when I retired from those jobs, I was recruited by Hofstra University to be a site supervisor of student dance teachers. And then I help more people. But my one-woman shows now are my pride and joy. And even though they're hard to book, and I just love them so much because I get to do what I want to do, what I've learned to do, what I'm still learning to do, getting better, practicing every single day. It just feels so good. Successful. I guess I feel successful.
That's great. Stick around. We're going to bring on our next guest. So door number 1 or door number 2?
Door number 2.
And that's Mandisa. Mandisa, are you there? There
I am right here.
Now, we're going in another direction. I mean, we're going to talk about success on other levels for you, but you are the general manager of 54 Below.
Yes, I am.
One of the jewels in the crown of New York City Cabaret.
Well, thank you very much. That means a lot.
Well, it's true. How did that come to be for you? And we'll talk about some other incredible things that have been happening as well.
Thank you so much. I moved to this country from Trinidad and Tobago in 2011. And a year after I moved here, I was in the market to find a job. 54 Below opened in 2012. In June, I applied. Didn't really know anything about the place or any background. I just know I needed work. I got hired as a backserver and food runner. And, as they say, the rest is history. I kind of worked my way up from there. Not intentionally or ambitiously, I might add. I just had a curiosity for learning things, seeing things, and wanting to know.
Did you know anything about the club world or music or any of those things?
No, I hadn't even seen a Broadway show before I started working at 54 Below. Patti LuPone was the first performer, and I remember I spent my first 2 weeks there, just everybody from guests to, coworkers, just trying to explain to me who Patti LuPone is, why she's great, why she's amazing. And,
Patty, are you watching?
I found that out for myself, thankfully, when I met her, on that first opening day, which I still remember. So it's been a very interesting experience for me. I would say I've experienced a lot of growth working.
I read a book about the hospitality industry,
Mm-hmm.
and it said that we all, no matter what we do, we're in the hospitality industry, and I believe that
100%.
And what I will say, coming into 54 Below, you are always so welcoming. I don't know if you treat
I
everyone
appreciate
else the
that.
way that you treat me when I walk in.
I do. I treat everybody, but you get a little
And I
extra
always feel
special
like I'm the
hello.
most important. I feel like I'm the most important person in the room because of the way that you treat me when I walk in the
That's
door.
great to hear. I mean, we lead with warmth and kindness, but also we try to be genuine. You know, it's not an act that we put on. We genuinely love all the guests that walk through the door, and we love interacting with you. And I love the all the stories. And just like you say, it feels genuine on my part. It feels genuine on your part as well. Because when you ask me how I'm doing and you ask for updates, I actually think you care.
I do.
And
I
that's
do.
great. It's an
We're going to bring
exchange.
on our next guest in a moment, but I
Mhm.
want to talk about a different kind of success.
Okay.
And I hope that you don't mind my lead-off question with this.
Talk to me.
How much have you lost weight-wise?
I have lost. I mean, if we're thinking about from 2018 to now, I've lost 100 pounds. In the last 12 months, I would say I've lost about 66 of those 100 pounds. Um, so if everybody who's watching, you don't know, I decided in 2023, December of 2023, that I wanted to try bodybuilding. I started off that journey at 202 pounds. I started working with a trainer. I told everybody I'm going to do bodybuilding next year. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And then 66 pounds later, I have my first competition coming up in June. So I'm very excited about that. Nervous, but excited at the same time.
It's just amazing. And the information's on the bottom of the screen. And I will also have all of this information for all of you in the body of my website on richardskippercelebrates.com so that people will be able to find that. I want to bring on our next guest, Ron Spivak, and who I love, a dear friend.
Oh,
And
mutual.
well, thank you, Ron. And
Thank you.
not only are you a singer, but you also have delved into other areas of the business, perhaps as a means to survive. But you're
True.
so well versed in those areas.
Oh my God.
So why did you decide to do these other things, or was it just simply to survive here in New York?
Well, I have to say, first of all, how dare you keep me waiting, someone as successful as I am.
Yes, we saved the best for last. With all due respect to everybody.
I know. Thank you so much for bringing me into this illustrious group. I know all of you by reputation. I think I've met you, Mandisa, because I've actually performed at 54 Below
Absolutely. So
several times, and I think we have met. But no, I mean, talk about reinventing yourself. I think I have done that time and time again, mostly out of necessity, just to survive. Um, when I was in my distant youth, I actually taught myself graphic design at a time when the personal computer was just coming into the forefront. And my grandfather actually had been uh, an advertising executive and a graphic designer. And I remember sitting on his lap watching him draw and use press type and do all the things by hand that I now do on the computer. And I wish he could be around to see what I do, not because I think he'd be proud, but because I think he'd be fascinated just by the technology.
Do you think that he would have picked up the way that things are done now, or do you think it would have been a difficult learning curve for him?
No, I think he would have. I think the way he would lay out an ad or work with design really was more out of necessity, just using the tools that he had at hand. And I think if he had had something like a computer with a big screen and be able to draw with a mouse, or even today you can, type a few words into AI and poof, your picture is there. I think he would have embraced that wholeheartedly. And listen, anything to save time.
Wow.
But
Wow.
I started out as an actor singer, and like a lot of them, I had to have a day job just to survive, a survival job. And for many people, that would have been waiting tables, and I don't think I had the stamina for that. Uh, I admire people who do, but I became a graphic designer, and at one point I had kind of switched focus, and I was doing graphic design full time for an advertising agency, and the acting was just something I did on the side. Um, and then during the pandemic, I switched gears again, and I went from acting and from graphic design to writing, and I've now written book and lyrics for a new musical that is. We've had a couple of readings, and we're hoping to go into some workshops soon, and very proud of that.
Well,
But
tell them what it is.
it is a musical of a famous Japanese story called Rashomon, and I've written it with the son of the playwrights Michael and Faye Kanan, who had done a Broadway adaptation for the stage. And so our musical is based on that stage play, and we're writing it with the famous Japanese composer Michiru Oshima, who is just phenomenal and successful. And I'm just glad to be a part of the project and to have at least artistic success and bask in the glow of that, and brings me a lot of joy.
That's great. You've got other projects too. But I want to go around and I want to ask each of you the same question, and then we're going to play a little round robin. And I'm going to start with you, Lenny. Do you feel that the success, the career that you have, is based on manifestation? And when I say manifestation, I'm not getting woo woo. I mean that you basically planned out the career that you would have. Or do you feel that it's happened because of circumstance of the people that you've met along the way?
No, no manifestation at all. I would never have thought when I moved to New York that this is where I would be and what I would be doing. I hated school. I hated taking classes, and now I have a school and I teach classes. And it's, I came here. I went to AMDA in the 80s, and I came here to be a performer, and I still do perform. But no, I would have never thought that this is where I would have ended up. And it all happened because of circumstances that, I can kind of go back and actually say, this is when this changed for me, and then this happened, and then this changed. And it's just like I said before about saying yes. It's just I've been following this path, but no manifestation in this at all. And it's funny because people say to me, "Oh, you're so lucky because you're working in your passion. It's your passion." And I was like, I love what I do, and I'm really lucky, but it was never my passion. It happened and has become something that I really love. But I'm not one of those kids that set out at age 7 and said, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah, not me.
Okay. What about you, Carolyn? Same question.
Gosh, that's such an important question too. In my case, I would say I always loved music from the time I was a little child, but I never envisioned myself actually doing music. In my generation, little girls grew up and got married and had children, and everything else was a hobby. But when I got to college, and I went to Marymount College, actually. Who was it that talked about Marymount? Judy. But this was Marymount in Tarrytown. It doesn't exist anymore. But the music department there was a very serious department. And I joined the music department. And in the course of my time there, I learned that I had this talent. Not only that I had this love for music, but that I had this talent to teach, which is why the college hired me right after graduation. And that kind of gave it a direction to my life that had nothing to do with anything I had thought I was ever going to do. And basically I put one foot in front of the other and just kept going. And life just unfolded. The opportunities just showed up. And, you know, I think that's how you know you are where you belong.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, I think if you have to fight too hard at it, it's probably not right for you.
Well,
But
what's
for
the
the result,
expression?
not that it isn't
Insanity
hard.
is doing the same thing over and over and over and getting the same results. Judy, same question.
Well, do you mind repeating the question?
No, do
I
you
got
feel
lost in
that
it.
the career that you have is something that you systematically set out to have, or do you believe that your career that you have now is a result of the people and circumstances that have happened along the way?
Well, I think, again, it's a combination of situations and timing and everything, but I really worked hard. And I believe in working hard. I don't believe in wasting time. If they say if you want to make money when you're in education, you have to get another degree. That's what I did. So I have 3 degrees, 3 master's degrees, and a certificate in supervision and administration so that I could run a department. I have all that, and that earned me more money so that I could buy what I needed to survive, which was an apartment. I wanted an apartment, I wanted to own it, and I got a real estate license. And I shopped around for whatever I could afford, and I found a foreclosure. And you've been in it, Richard. You can tell them what it's all about. It's tiny, but it's on the river, and I get a view and I can dream.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Mandisa, same question. And I think I pretty much know the answer based on what you told us at the
Actually,
beginning.
I don't think you do. First of all, I'm like congratulating everybody over here in my corner while they're telling their stories. It's very, very inspiring, I must say. But I would say it's a little of both for me. It's a little bit of manifestation and a little bit of circumstances, and I'll tell you why. Because growing up, when I saw myself in the future and I thought of the perfect career, I didn't have an answer for what I wanted it to be, but I know what I didn't want. And I didn't want to sit in an office, and I wanted it to be different, and I wanted it to be interesting, and I wanted it to be, somewhere where I could interact with people. And this kind of checks all the boxes. So is this what I was envisioning? No. But it's everything that I did want. So that's a little bit of manifestation, but also a lot of circumstances. I kind of got thrusted into this. Like I said, I trained for a lot of different positions. And then when a role became available, I was the first person they thought about. And then it just kept going up from there until I got to the point of being offered the general manager position. And I refused it at first. And, one of the founders, Richard Frankel, he told me, because I was like, I don't know anything. I can't, I don't know everything that it takes to run this place. And he said to me, I think you could learn and you could grow into this position. All the other qualities we need from somebody in this position you have. And that was a huge step for me because I definitely grew up a lot. I grew as a person. And so a little bit of circumstances and manifestation, I would say.
That's great. Ron, same question.
Well, a lot of circumstance for me too, but I think you have to create your circumstances. You don't just by chance happen to meet someone in the theater or meet someone who has a job that happens to be along the lines of what your interests are. When I was first out of college, I used to go to Samuel French, the old Samuel French bookshop. And for those who don't know,
I remember it.
They were the famous play publishers and agents for musical theater. And I used to go there and borrow scores and study them. And one day, the head of the musicals department walked over to me and said, you seem to know a lot about musicals. Are you looking for a job by any chance? And I said, yes. and so I started, to quote from How to Succeed in Business, I started in the mailroom. And by the time I was there in my 5th year, I was the musicals editor for Samuel French. And when I left there, it was because some other circumstance had happened, another opportunity, if you will. And so, yes, things are circumstantial, but you have to be in the right place at the right time and kind of make your own circumstances.
Great, great, great. Lenny, what is the greatest piece of advice that you've ever gotten in this business that you listened to and that it actually moved the needle for you?
Oh gosh, the problem is I don't listen. That's the problem.
That's why I said that you listened to.
I think just be aware and stay open and grasp opportunities as they come. I feel like that's really been the best thing for me, is just not closing off. And, so I think some people get so into whatever they think their direction is going to be that they're not open to any of this other stuff around them. So I feel like for me, it's just about it. And also creating my own. I was always told you have to create your own opportunities. And that's what I've done from day one. I'm not the person that gets the phone call all the time. I'm not the person that gets the offers all the time. And I've had to create all of that. And I think that's the best advice, was just if you're not happy at the table you're at, build your own table. And that's kind of what I've been doing.
Good for you. That's great. Carolyn, same question.
Well, I have gotten a lot of advice over the years, I will say. But I think the most meaningful advice came from my husband, Steve Elmore. Whenever I would be preparing for an audition, and I'd say, and it was, for character parts, and I would be dressing weird, or I'd put on, I'd say, how about this? How about that? And he'd say, Carolyn, never forget the name of the business. Show business. Look your best. Be attractive. They can think about what they're going to make you look like, if they're going to use you in that part, but don't go in there in costume. This is show business. So I think that probably made the biggest difference in terms of the way I approached auditions and pursuing a career.
I love that. Judy, same question.
Well, all I can think of after Carolyn mentioned that is when I auditioned for Danny DeVito many years ago, when he was doing 3 by Pirandello, Luigi Pirandello plays down at the Colonnades Theater. And he was looking for a Sicilian peasant woman. And at that time, I was very tan and my hair was down to my waist. And I went with a little midriff thing, and I was young. And he picked me. And then when he found out that I was a dancer, he said, can you choreograph a Tarantella? I said, yeah, no problem. Let's go. And then when I started working with the actors, he said, Judy, this is not the Joffrey Ballet. So I had to tone it down a bit. But it was all good fun. And dressing the part actually got me the part.
That's great. Mandisa.
I would say the best advice that I have ever gotten is don't be afraid to fail. Because a lot of times we don't try things because we're afraid that we can't achieve the outcome. But if you fail, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You just do it again until, you learn how to do it properly. So that's something I had to learn, because I am one of those people who might be afraid to try something if I'm not going to do it right the first time. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So I've learned to come out of my head a little bit and just, if you don't get it right the first time, you're going to learn. Like anybody could learn to do things. So just taking that pressure off yourself.
That's wonderful. Ron?
Be prepared. To quote from Tom Lehrer, who actually is an old friend of mine, if you're going to go into show business in particular, which is a terrible business, if there's anything else that you could possibly do and be happy, go do that. But if you're going to be in show business, learn how to do everything. Become the best actor you can, become the best singer, the best dancer. Do everything in your power to get all that training, so that when you walk into that audition, you can say, yeah, I know how to do that. When I was younger, I wasn't always...
Girl where Barbara Streisand says, "Can I roller skate?"
Yeah.
If they want it, I'll do it. I'll learn to do it. I've got some questions that I want to ask each of you. And Lenny, I'm going to start with you. What are you currently watching that inspires you? It could be either live, or it could be television, or a movie, a streaming series. What is it that you're currently watching that inspires you?
Oh gosh. Right now, I'm watching. Well, for instance, I'm actually going to 54 Below tonight to see Marilyn May, and she inspires me greatly. We've been friends for a long time. I was the one who booked her when she came back to New York when I was booking the Metropolitan Room, and we've remained really good friends, and I'm really excited to see her tonight. So watching people like Marilyn May is incredibly inspiring. And I know this might seem a little silly, but I am really inspired by watching some reality shows, not the competition ones, not the for instance, tonight is RuPaul's Drag Race, and I'm a big RuPaul's Drag Race fan, not because I do enjoy a good drag queen, who doesn't, but watching the backstories and watching what people how much struggle and how much work people have to do to get to where they're going that nobody ever gets to see is fascinating and inspiring to me to watch that. And so the other stuff I don't watch because the whole world is shit. And so to watch all these other shows of all of that going on, drama and all this stuff going on, I would rather watch people fighting and struggling and having success than to watch, people getting shot up on,
I agree with you. Carolyn, what are you listening to currently that inspires you?
That inspires me?
Music that you're currently listening to.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because since I've been back in New York, I was living in Florida for a few years. Since I've been back in New York, I have been going to the Met more often. And quite frankly, I've noticed a difference in the singing from when I was much younger and going to the Met. I think they don't have access to all the greatest singers in the world like they used to for the individual roles that these people were famous for. So we have a lot of maybe singers that are a bit younger than maybe ideally they would be, not as experienced, not for those particular roles anyway. But yet it's still inspirational to go and sit and listen to these young singers sing great music. And I do notice that their emphasis on acting has become greater in opera than it was when I first started in music. Basically you planted your feet and you sang gorgeously and had fabulous high notes and everybody went crazy. But now they have to look and act the part as well. And I really, truly admire, that does inspire me, going to the opera and listening to the music and coming out and makes me want to sing.
That's great. Judy, what is something that you deeply believe but rarely live out?
Oh, I'm very inspired by Fareed Zakaria. And I would love to be as smart as he is. He has the ability to look at something from this way, from that way, what, why, when, where, how. I find that fascinating. He's a what is his title? He's a political scientist. That's intriguing. I don't think I could ever be that, but I love to think like that. I think it's very, very important to look at the world like that, to look at music, to art. Everything has a different angle to it.
Mm-hmm.
But what about this idea? Or what about that idea? And why is this happening? And how does that facilitate itself in the world that I live in? So it's not me. It's not one other person. It's the whole picture, like choreography.
Yeah.
The whole picture.
Wow.
The entrances, the exits, the drama, the ups, the down, the fighting, the peace. How do you make it work? And that's what he wants everything to be. He wants to find a peace within the world.
I love that, and I do too. Mandisa, I hope that you are in your position as long as you desire to be there.
Thank you.
However,
oh gosh,
yes. if you were going to train someone who's going to follow in your footsteps,
Okay.
what's the one piece of advice that you would give to that person?
Be flexible. Just learn to adjust because a lot of times, you plan your day and you kind of map out in your head how things are going to go. And then, like the other night, I hope I'm not giving too much tea, but we had a guest who fainted. How are you going to deal with that? Right? That's
I
a
did that on stage once.
situation. Oh my gosh, it was so stressful. But you have to learn how to adjust and pivot. Like when things don't go according to plan, or when something breaks and the food can't come out on time, or you're short staffed and you have one bartender and the drinks are taking too long. Like, what do you do when things don't go according to plan, but you also don't have a solution to make people, you can't solve the problem. So, I think just being open to that type of flexibility and thinking outside of the box is just the biggest lesson for anybody in this position to learn.
Absolutely. Ron, do you feel that you're still showing up the same way that you did when you first started in the business?
Showing up?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Being totally present. Yes.
Absolutely. I may not be doing the same things, the same roles, the same jobs that I did when I was younger, but no, I certainly feel exactly the same, at least to myself, as I did years ago.
Okay.
And yeah, the craft is the craft, whatever that art form may be. If it's performing, or if it's doing art, or if it's writing, I'm there 100%.
Great. I'm going to go around with one other round of questions, and then you're all going to get a chance to have your final word of the day.
Yay.
The one thing that I love about this business, for me, is collaboration, because no man is an island. So, Lenny, when you're looking to collaborate with someone, and of course you've had, I would believe, and I could be wrong, that your longest collaboration is with Stephen Ray Watkins. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, we're not collaborating so much anymore. We've moved into different areas, but he was my musical director for years. But I've worked with many musical directors and many other people. What was the question?
Well, I haven't asked it yet.
Oh, well, that's why I don't know the answer.
Yeah. What is the main thing that you look for in a collaborator?
Openness, creativity, the willingness to collaborate. A lot of people say that they're collaborators, but they're not really open to collaborating. That's my favorite part of what I mean. I direct a lot of cabaret acts, a lot of club acts, and a lot of theater. And to me, it's all about collaboration. And even in the school that's collaborating with the board of directors, it's making ideas happen. As a matter of fact, I think, Carolyn, is Stuart Elmore your son?
He is my stepson.
Your stepson.
Yeah.
I did Dames at Sea with him and Michelle Burdett in St. Louis, Missouri, 42 years ago.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Well, two of my favorite people walking the planet. Thank you.
They're amazing. But anyway,
can I just throw in, I don't want to interrupt, but speaking of Dames at Sea, Carolyn, the late, great Jim Wise, the composer of Dames at Sea, was a very dear friend of mine.
Oh,
and when I heard that you were on the show, and of course, I've never met Steve, but certainly well aware of his work, not only in Dames, but other things as well. I was just thrilled to have a chance to say hello to you.
Thank you. Well, if you like Dames at Sea, if I could take a minute and tell a little story of that Steve was in New York, and he was, a young guy, and he was married. He had 3 children, including Stuart. And he was doing a lot of Broadway chorus. And one day he was walking, I guess he was going to an appointment, and ran into a young woman that he knew. And she said, I'm going to an audition right now, downtown, for a new show called Dames at Sea, and they're looking for guys. Why don't you come and sing? Why don't you come down and audition? He said, okay. So he went down with her. The rest is history.
And the rest is history. Wow.
And he was the captain.
Take those chances. Lenny, were you finished with what you wanted to say?
Yes, because what we did was collaborated just there.
Exactly.
So, Carolyn, when was a moment in your life when you felt at the moment that it was a failure, but it turned out to be a success for you?
Oh, gosh, what a question. That I thought it was a failure. I'm going to say maybe when I was teaching at Muhlenberg and they decided to change the way in which they were handling the music department and the singing teachers and how they were distributing the students. And suddenly I became like a warm-up act for another teacher. You know, I could teach that student for a year or two, and then the other teacher would take and now enjoy my work. So I decided, you know, I don't need to do this. I'm too good a teacher and too experienced and I think I was probably older than the teacher that was taking. It was like, so I thought at the time that felt like a failure. But when I left that position, I opened up all this time for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I started performing more. I took on more students in New York. And so it wound up actually freeing me from something that wasn't taking me anywhere anyway. So a twist of fate.
That's wonderful. Judy, as we wrap up this week, what's a win, W-I-N, that you had this week that you feel is worth celebrating?
Well, I just performed Merely Marvelous, the songs of Gwen Verdon at the Delray Playhouse. And it was a full house. Wow, what a surprise that was. I mean, you never know, right? And I got great feedback. No reviewers from a paper or anything, but all sorts of social media stuff. And people are talking to me differently now.
That's great.
It's kind of a twist of fate. And nothing else than that. Just feeling the fact that I could be on that stage and feel so comfortable and relate to the audience and make them laugh. Oh, I love that. And the band was great too. I hired these guys. Bobby Pico played for me.
Oh.
And then I had a female drummer, which was kind of cool. And it was it was like magic.
That's great.
Great. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Mandisa, what is one hard lesson that keeps repeating itself in your life because you refuse to learn it?
Oh my gosh, why are you asking me all the hard questions? One hard lesson that keeps repeating. I don't know. That's crazy. I mean, I don't know. Maybe sometimes I'm, a little too nice. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think about. No,
well,
honestly,
don't change that.
It feels
whenever.
like a job interview when you say, "Oh, my my weakness is that I'm just good at everything." But no, I feel sometimes I could be a little bit too nice to my detriment. Sometimes. Sometimes people have to learn lessons, and if you are too nice all the time, you let people take advantage of you. So I think that's the thing. I have to be a little bit stronger in my nose, and
Okay.
yeah, that would be it.
Okay. Well, that's a good answer. Ron.
Oh my gosh.
Last question of the day before we go into this. What is a moment or a conversation that reminded you of why you do what you do?
Oh, it was just yesterday. I had a work session with Michiru, and she sat down at the piano and started to improvise music for a song that we're working on. And it was just so gorgeous and inspiring, just right off the top of her head. And it made me want to run to my desk and write words for it. So those moments don't happen often, but when they do, they're pretty terrific.
That's great. Well, I want to thank all of you for being here today. I want to say this to all of you and to everyone who's watching. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment on YouTube, even to my guests that are here today. Hit the like button if you had a good time, and hit the share button. And if you don't already subscribe to Richard Skipper Celebrates, consider doing that. I do these shows every Friday afternoon. And what that does is that raises the ranking of the video depending on the number of comments that it gets. I would also like to let everyone know, that as we close up today, I am leading a book group at our local church here, and the book is called The Let Them Theory. And the basic message of this book is that we cannot control what's going on in the world right now, but we can control how we respond to what's going on in the world. And a recent friend, a friend of ours, Lenny, I'm not going to say who it was, who was talking about a major celebrity who every day on Facebook was talking about the things in politics that she hated. And he said, well, what are the things that you love? Because that's all that this person was writing about. And that's the message that that person is putting out to the world. So think about this for a moment as I say my final word. I'm going to pass the baton to one of you. And then when you finish, you'll pass it to the next person and so on. And when the last person says goodbye, I will end the show so you don't have to worry about it. How do we get out of here? But I want you to think about something that you have recently read that inspired you or that is currently inspiring you. As I say at the end of each one of my shows, today, when you go to your emails, as we all will do at some point today, the 8th name or the 8th email that you see in your list, rather than responding with an email, respond with a phone call. And let that person know the impact that they're making on your life. And by doing so, you're going to make an impact on their life. As my dear friend Sean Moniger says, we're all in the same storm, but we're in different sized boats. And I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you have a skipper by your side. And with that, I'm turning the screen. And Judy, I'm turning it over to you. And when you finish, you'll pick the next person. I'll see you all next Friday. Goodbye.
Oh my. I was just reading a review from one of your followers, Richard. I don't know where it came from. The person didn't share their name. But he said, or she said, I don't have any talents that make you who you are, but my friendship is real and I'm grateful that I can share it with you. You have such a life story from early childhood to present, many, many years and hours, plus not at all easy at times. I agree with Richard. You are so balanced and centered. Ron.
Thank you, Judy. Well, Richard, it's always such an honor to be on your show and to meet wonderful new people. Thank you, the three of you, and to Carolyn. Richard always likes to announce what day it is, and today, actually, he didn't say this, but it's National Animal Crackers Day, among other things. So, of course, I couldn't come on without doing a really bad Groucho Marx. So, what can I say? It's a pleasure to be here. And Richard, you are always inspiring to me and hopefully to a lot of people out there. And keep doing what you do. And all of you keep doing what you do. Thank you so much. I turn it over to Lenny.
All right. I haven't really read, this is not an exact quote, but something that I've been listening to, reading, and taking to heart is not hanging on to things that don't serve you anymore, and in whatever form that takes. Making room. When I started making room for things in my life, all of a sudden better things started to come up and started to happen. This has been very inspiring and eye-opening, and it's so great to hear other people's stories and their perspective on things. And it's been a real pleasure. And thanks, Richard, for asking me to do this. And I'm going to go to your club, so I'm going to give it over to Mandisa. I'll see you later, maybe.
See you soon, Lenny. Okay, for me, I just want to first say it's been an honor and a pleasure to be on this program, especially with so many inspiring, talented, and people with such great positive energies. It's always nice to have that around me, and it inspires me and pushes me to keep growing and keep hopefully being a positive influence on the world. So, Carolyn, one thing you said that I didn't like, you said you can't teach everybody to sing, so there's no hope for me. I was hoping there was some hope for me.
So the way you laugh, you sound like you maybe could sing, but
okay, that gives me some hope. We'll talk offline. But one thing I've learned is not to take things too personally. Sometimes the way somebody acts, or the way they treat you in situations, is sometimes based on them and what they're going through, and not everything should hopefully not affect. Don't let those things affect your self-esteem. Just know who you are, know that you're an amazing person, and keep your confidence up and keep growing and keep being blessed. So thank you very much, everybody.
well, I guess what I have to say here, first of all, is Richard, my goodness, aren't you remarkable? Giving us this opportunity to get together, all people from different elements and different parts of this business, the creative arts, basically. And what I've loved about being in this business all of these years is how unique everyone in this business is. Now, one could say, I guess, that everybody is unique everywhere, but I think there's something about the theater business, about the creative fields that draw in people who are worked so hard to be unique within themselves and maybe didn't fit well anywhere else. I think that is one of the problems. I think that, what was it, Richard? Was it Ron that said, if there's anything else you can do that you'll be happy doing, do it, because this business is impossible. That's one of their acting teachers at University of Miami. That's the first thing they would say to this freshman when they'd come in. But the point is that there isn't any place else that you could be happy, and that's why we're here. So it's been quite a ride, and I'm not done yet, and I hope nobody else is either. And Richard, thank you so much. This has been such a joy, and I loved meeting everybody, every single last one of them. Just wonderful. Thank you.